Okay guys, today we're going to be doing adding and subtracting of complex numbers. This is going to be easy, so I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Okay, so here's our first example. And the reason it's easy is you're just going to combine the parts that are real and the parts that are imaginary. So let's start with combining our parts that are real. So we're going to combine our 3 minus our 6. We got to be careful that we include the minus sign right here. Very, very important. So we get 3 minus the 6, and that was going to give us a negative 3. Next, we're going to do negative 3, sorry. Next, we're going to do our imaginary parts, which is positive 2i. Once again, we're going to minus a 13i, which is going to give us a negative 11i. And that is our solution. And that's all there is to it. So let's try another example. A little bit more complicated this time. So let's look at this example. Notice it has a multiplier on the outside of each of these. So before we do anything else, we want to go ahead and multiply that in. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to multiply the 2 times the 6, which is going to give us 12. And then we multiply 2 times 3i, which gives us 6i. Now we get to the next part. We have a positive 3 times 4, which also gives us 12. And a positive 3 times negative 2i gives us negative 6i. Notice that we have a positive 6i and a negative 6i. Those two terms will cancel each other out, leaving us simply with the 12 plus 12, which is 24. So we bring our 12 plus our 12 in. Notice that we added two complex numbers together, and we have a real number as our answer because the imaginary components canceled out. So here's another example. We have an imaginary number or a complex number, and we're adding it to a real number. Now, this is easy to do because, again, all we do is add the real components together and the imaginary components together. So we start off by adding our 3 plus 7. Those are our real components, and we get 10. Now, the second half does not have an imaginary number. So therefore, we only have the 2i, the negative 2i, and we're going to bring that down to get negative 2i. And that's our final solution. Is a complex number. Okay, so look at this problem. Ugly. So when we have something like this, we need to look, maybe simplify a little bit to see if we can get our terms together. We're okay with the front half because the real number's 8 and 4. 8 minus 4, no problem. Our difficulty lies in the imaginary parts. We need to be able to get these to look alike so that we can then combine them together. Now we have our second part. We have to do something with the square root of negative 18. We know that it can be divided up into two parts. The square root of negative 9 times 2. The square root of negative 9 is going to give us 3i. What remains is the part we can't use, which is the square root of 2. Notice, however, now that we have imaginary parts that are identical. So we're going to combine our real parts together and get 8 minus 4, which is going to give us a 4. When we combine the imaginary parts together, 3i square roots of 2 minus 3i square roots of 2, those are going to cancel out, leaving us with an answer simply of 4. So you need to check out problems to make sure you get your parts looking the same, imaginary parts looking the same, in order to combine them. If you have any questions on this, please ask me tomorrow in class. Have a good evening.